Welcome back, everyone. We've got another episode of Spooky Mountain. I am Steph, and I've got Jordi with me.
Hello.
And we got a really fun episode. I think my one is...
Is yours fun?
Mine's fun. I just straight out said it. It's really fun, but it's also kind of weird. Doing a conspiracy.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
The last one that you said was fun was Sam the Sandown Clown.
Oh,
and that wasn't fun.
That turned out to be one of the most
creepiest
fucked up shit. That's so true.
So I don't fully trust your perception of what fun is.
That's a good point. Yeah. Well, what are you doing?
I'm doing... It's almost true crime. I'm going into a little bit of almost true crime.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just a mystery as well.
So okay.
It's not really super intense. Some parts of it are a bit intense. But it's definitely a real thing that happened.
Oh shit. Okay.
As well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've probably heard of it.
All right. I mean, mine technically is... Yeah, it's interesting. It's a conspiracy about something that is actually real. That exists.
Okay.
That is mysterious, but
all right.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to hear it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So yeah, thanks for joining us again, everyone, for another. Well, I think 42.
Holy shit, 42.
42. Isn't that the number of life or something?
42. Wait,
the number of.
Are you thinking of pi?
No.
No, you're not thinking of pie.
No, I may be pregnant, but I am not always thinking about food. Okay. No.
That's a lie, and we all know it.
No, I think, what was it? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, what number was it?
I think
42. I don't know. It's probably people screaming at their phones right now.
I mean, that's usually me, so yeah, that's all good. Yeah. So, yeah, if you usually listen to us, thank you so much for joining us again. And I think we've got a lot of new listeners as well. We've been getting a lot of new people reaching out to us on our socials. So really appreciate you listening to us. It's really cool to see how like our wide range of people around the world are finding us.
All over. People from all over. We've had some pretty interesting people sliding into our DMs lately.
Oh, yeah.
All just absolutely fabulous people.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
We've got a good mixed bag of people enjoying the show, so we do love that. But yeah, if you really do like our podcast, there is a way to support us and support the show, which helps us kind of upgrade our equipment. I think the next thing what we're trying to do is get new mics. Oh my
God, like the U-Butte microphones.
Yeah, we want the good shit.
We have had our eyes set on these microphones that we want to get for like ages, and it's been like our number one goal. It's like, okay, if we get enough money through Patreon, we're going to get these microphones. We even tried to work out how to get them.
We had so many like different types of schemes to get these microphones, but it's just like, no, I think this is just what we're going to have to do with Patreon, which, that is absolutely the best way to support us. So it's like a monthly subscription. We've got a link down in our show notes that you can just click and kind of read up on that. But yeah, if you do sign up, we've got exclusive videos and posts, and we've got a private Discord group there as well. So you get some stuff in return, which is cool. Otherwise, if you want to just leave us a review or shout us out on your socials, tell a friend about us that we exist, that is always super appreciated, because getting the word out makes our listener base grow as well.
It sure does. And we love hearing from you guys. As I said, we get messages from people from all across the world. So if you did want to reach out to us, you can do it in many different ways. You can reach out to us on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, so you can send us messages through that, or you can email us at spookymountainpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a SpeakPipe message, which is a voice message, which is kind of like the fun way of leaving us a message. I mean,
we get to hear your accent. You get to hear our voices. We want to hear yours.
Yeah. We want to hear your best Aussie accents. But yeah, with our SpeakPipe, you can like leave us your own, it's maximum 60 seconds, so it might not be long enough to do this, but you can leave your own little spooky story, or you can just say hi. You can just tell us a joke. You can do whatever you want. We want to hear everything. But yeah, you can find like all the links to our stuff in our show notes that is underneath our episode. So yeah, do any of the above.
We pretty much got everything down below. Or our website as well. Our website's down there. Like our website has like
all
every link
things
you need. All our merch that we've done as well.
That's merch,
There's some good shit on there. But also something that we're trying to get going again is another listener-based episode. So
it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. We've done a couple so far, but we've also got a few stories already. So we just need a couple more that would be long enough for an episode. So definitely send them in. If you're thinking, oh God, it's a bit too short, or it's a bit too long, we will.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We'll find a way to use it, and best way is to like email us the story because we read it out.
Yep.
Otherwise, if it's a short one, you can just send us a speak pipe message as well.
Yeah, I would love to hear a listener's story about a UFO, because I don't know if we've had a listener UFO story yet, have we?
Oh yeah, we have.
Have
we've had a couple. We had Ailey's about the
Black Triangle.
And
then there was like Kathleen's.
Yeah.
But that wasn't alien. That wasn't like
UFO,
I
guess we're not sure what that is yet.
That was just like weird. Like I was actually listening back to our one of our listener episodes, and it's so good. It's literally so amazing to hear people's own stories, because like a lot of the stories that we get in are also local to you and me, so Sydney and the Blue Mountains, so they're very close by, which definitely adds to the spooky level.
Oh, definitely.
I think, because it's like, oh, that's just like up around the corner from where I am.
I love hearing stuff that's more local, because I mean, for me, like I listen to a lot of podcasts where they do have like real people talking about their stories, but pretty much 100% of them is American.
Right.
They're not, I do have one podcast that's Australian as well, but there's not as many. It's more the American side of things. So I really do like hearing from our Australian
people.
Listeners, but also everyone as well.
Oh, for sure.
But it does feel a bit more, not real, but I guess it feels different.
It does. It definitely feels more real though, because not only is it close by, but it's from people that have reached out to us.
Yeah.
Because usually we research stories from places and people that are kind of quite far removed from us. So it's like, wow, this is so real.
They're talking about places we've actually been before, which is creepy.
You know what? I just finished, I think it's like a 5-part podcast about Ivan Milat and the bodies out at Belanglo. And I am a bit of a stupid idiot. I didn't realise how close Belanglo is to where we are. It is.
Wait, is it?
Oh, yeah. It's like, from me, it's like an hour and a half.
Wait, where's Belanglo? I thought that was like in Queensland.
I thought it was in Victoria.
Oh, this shows how much we fucking know for like the most notorious serial killer in Australia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from where you are, it's not that far away at all.
Is it south?
Oh no, sorry. Well, where Ivan Milat lived, he lived in like Eagle Vale.
Oh, yes. So I grew up in that area.
Right.
And my mum actually encountered him at Coles.
Oh, you've said
at a shopping centre.
You've told us about this.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I'm sure there's like a few people that we know that encountered him.
Is Belanglo around that area?
No. So I think Belanglo is actually not super close to that area, but it's not far. Like for me, it's about an hour and a half.
That certainly, you know what? It does make it more
scary.
real.
It does. And in these episodes, they were talking about like other potential bodies and murders that are maybe linked to Ivan Milat that he never, because he's dead now, but he never admitted to them. And it's like one out at fucking Lithgow and one at Jenolan, which for anyone listening who doesn't know the Blue Mountains, that's the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
There were bodies, there were people either taken or murdered out at like Belmont and Swansea, which is where my nan lived until she passed away only, a couple of years ago.
Oh, and I remember when he was in prison, he was like, I'll tell you where the bodies are if you just get me a PlayStation.
That's right.
And they were like, fuck off. We're not getting you a PlayStation because then you'll keep asking for more shit. And I'm like, what? A PlayStation? And you'll tell us where the bodies are?
And then he fucking cut off his finger.
Yeah.
He cut off his finger because I don't know if it was like because of the PlayStation or something else.
Oh my God.
But
yeah, they said they were going to give him one and then they didn't.
They didn't, yeah.
And
he had it taken away from him.
Yeah.
I think. He like swallowed razor blades. He cut off his finger. He did a bunch of crazy shit.
Man, Aussies are nuts. Like,
I know.
Even, it was funny the other day. I don't know if I mentioned it on the show. It was like a couple months ago, we watched Chopper, the movie Chopper. Have you seen that before?
A long time ago.
Oh, man.
But Chopper's a fucking champion, though.
That movie holds up. Like, it is rough as fuck. That movie is so, like, it's got you clenching everything because you're like, this is fucked up. This cannot be real. Yeah. Like, but this guy, like, I don't know if anyone knows of this movie, Chopper Reed, he's like another kind of like weird, like notorious psycho guy, from Australia. But there's a movie called Chopper, and I highly recommend everyone watches it. It's from the 90s, I think. That one came out.
It's from the 90s.
My God, it's so rough. Just him being in prison and stuff he's done to people as well. He acts like so nice one second and then he just snaps. And he's so scary.
God, Australians are fucking crazy. Have you ever had like a close encounter with like a murderer or someone that you didn't realize was a murderer and turned out to be later?
No, the only thing was with Ivan Milat, but I didn't even know at the time. I was with my mum.
Oh, you were with your mum?
Yeah, so I was like a kid, and mum didn't even know who he was at the time. She just remembered looking at him going, my God, this guy's a psychopath. Because he was talking to a man, and I think she was at like a cafe ordering a coffee, and she looked over and just like randomly made eye contact with him. And mum looked over at him, and then Ivan just like turned and looked at her straight in the eyes and just
fucking hell,
like gave her the most intense stare she's ever had. She was like, oh my fucking God, okay, I should not be, like, she couldn't hear what they were saying, like she was far enough that she couldn't hear, so she just kind of like looked away, and then later on she saw on the news
and that
who
was
he
him.
was, and she was like, oh my God.
Yeah, because he's very distinct looking as well.
Yeah.
Like big black moustache.
Yeah, the handlebar moustache.
Quite
looks
buff.
Yeah.
It's
a bit of a rough area around there.
I had a funny experience once with someone that I met when I was working in a pub in Penrith, so about 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
I was working behind a bar and I met this group of guys that were from Zimbabwe, and they were working at like a whitewater rafting place in Penrith on like a working visa, and I got along really well with like most of them. It was a group of like 4 guys. And they were like heaps bigger than me. I'm like this tiny little white girl, and these were like big black blokes and really lovely and loud and fun. But there was this one guy, and he was like really thin, and he was always very quiet. And sometimes they would meet me after I finished my shift and would go to a different bar, pub thing for a couple of drinks, and then I would head home. And this one guy, the weird guy, he's always like, he would always make these really weird comments whenever we were just having like, the group would be having a normal conversation, and he would make these really fucking like weird comments. And so I never really like spoke to him because
like what? Like violent stuff? Or
kind of like violent stuff, but also weird race related stuff, which I mean, I'm not in a position to be like, no, that's fucking weird, but it was in relation to things that just, it was so out of place and really bizarre. And
he was the only one saying it as well. It's not like
that's
the
what
group
made it weird.
of...
He was just randomly like throwing it into the conversation. And anyway, fast forward like a couple of years, I was traveling around Australia in my van, and I got a message from my friend that I used to work with at the pub, and she was like, hey, look what your mate did. And she sent me an article, and it was about this weird guy, and he broke into a woman's apartment, hid in her bedroom, he killed her, and then he sexually assaulted her dead body.
What the fuck? In Australia?
Like he was in Australia, in Parramatta, I think it was.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere around Sydney.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'll have to send you.
Was it that guy that was the weird
it was
one?
That guy. Yeah, it was him. Yeah,
that's fucked up. Like, I knew there was something a bit off about this guy.
Fucking weirdo. Yeah,
wow,
so crazy. That's probably the closest that I've been to.
Yeah, for sure.
Something like that.
Do you know what the woman looks like that he murdered? Maybe he was just like looking at you like, you fucking bitch. And
yeah,
he was like, hey.
I'm pretty sure he was found guilty and he was like locked up for life and stuff. But yeah, because I think what happened was he tried to like crack onto her at a pub and she said no.
Oh my God.
And then he ended up just like breaking into a house and hiding.
Oh my God. Like, it's one thing to be just like followed home or stalked, but like actually thinking that you might be safe. You're like, oh, no one followed me home, I'm just going to go home. And then living in like an apartment and just having them climb through the fucking window.
Could you just, it's such a
invasion. Get electric fucking bars on my window, I reckon.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to think about people feeling like they have the right to break into your house and hurt you, you know.
I don't even know how people do that. I got locked when I lived on the second floor unit. We locked ourselves out, and we, for the life of us, could not get onto our second floor balcony. We did everything we possibly could. And Dylan is a roofer and he has no fear in heights, and he could not get on that fucking roof. So I don't know what people are on that shit. We had to walk 40 minutes to a friend's to get a ladder, and they didn't have the ladder that we thought they did, and it was the middle of summer, and I was like, I'm going to die. I'm actually going to die. Like,
I suppose it's a good thing that you, like, even you couldn't break into your own house.
Yeah.
Definitely means that other people
that's true. Like, if anyone wants to get in there more than me, it's me.
It's you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no one else has any chance.
No way. Well, anyway, let's get into my story.
Let's get into the conspiracy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we've done a couple of conspiracies here and there, but I thought I'd dive into the real fucking crazy-ass conspiracy for this one. Something that doesn't really get too much attention. Most people probably have heard of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't either, because I guess it just depends on, you know, what
your level of conspiracy. Your level of tinfoil on your head.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to be talking about the far side of the moon, also known as the dark side of the moon.
Cool, okay.
Yes. So there's a lot of strange theories as to what is going on over there. So I thought I'd cover those tonight, and also I just got some sweet-ass moon facts as well. Because
we love the moon.
Yeah, like I got a few of those. But yeah, the theories of what's going on in there is like absolutely mental.
Awesome.
But most of you probably remember learning about space and the moon when in school. That's kind of like the last time I remember kind of taking information about that.
Yeah, I think me too.
Yeah, like some people still might be taking that topic. You know, like I follow like NASA and some shit on Instagram, but I don't really like go out of my way to research it. I'd say I do have an interest in it though. Like I always think it's interesting. And what was really when I was doing this is my boyfriend Dylan. He knows a lot of weird moon facts, and he actually knows like all the phases of the moon. Like knows all like. Yeah, he's like, he can look at the moon and tell you what phase the moon is in and like knows their names.
That's
like
an obscure talent to have.
So weird, yeah. So that was a weird surprise. But I was like, okay, 7 years in and I'm...
Yeah, he's full of surprises.
But it is really an amazing thing that our moon orbiting Earth has been able to help provide Earth, life on Earth, as it's really in the best position for so many things to occur, considering we have only one moon as well rotating around us. Unlike most other planets, they've got multiple.
A bunch of them.
Yeah. So we've just got one and it's just perfect,
perfect for us.
Perfect for us. And also our moon is the 5th largest in the solar system, which I didn't know. Because there is so many fucking moons out there.
That's a big moon.
It's big, hey? Yeah. Yeah, it's massive. So let's do a couple of moon facts before we get into all the conspiracy stuff. So the moon is actually not as far away as you would think. It's about 30 Earths away in length, in distance. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not as far.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought it would be way more than that.
So anyone who like travels a lot for work has probably traveled the distance.
Oh, yeah.
To the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see many moons I have travelled.
Yeah, I wonder how many Danny DeVito's that is.
Oh my God.
To the moon.
I mean that's something we might need to look into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 Danny DeVito's from Earth. Oh my God. And the moon is also slowly, very slowly moving away from us.
Oh, no.
3.8 centimeters every year.
Oh, that's a lot. That sounds like a lot.
Every year. Yeah. So currently it takes 27.3 days to orbit the Earth. And in around 50 billion years, it'll end up being 47 days to do a full circle. Yeah.
I wonder what impact that would have on Earth. If
I could imagine quite a large impact. Yeah. I mean, 50 billion, of course, like, to be honest, I don't think there will be anything on Earth
left
at that
on
point.
Earth. No.
Like, the way we treat it is just fucking horrible.
Like, it's a piece of shit, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably all living on the moon at that point anyway. But, like, yeah, I think it would definitely affect, like, a lot. Like, the gravity.
The tides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Interesting.
And yeah, so I guess for most people, you would have heard the term Dark Side of the Moon due to the incredibly famous Pink Floyd album, which was released in 1973. So when this album came out, it definitely sparked a new interest in the topic, even though the name had nothing to do with the moon. It was in reference to a lot of mental health issues I think they were dealing with. But the interesting thing about the term Dark Side of the Moon is that it actually doesn't exist. Every part of the moon's surface does receive light from the sun. So the moon is tidally locked to Earth, which means that the length of a full rotation of the moon on its own axis causes its same side, the near side, to always face Earth.
So it's not that it always has a dark side, it's that we only ever see one side of the moon. Yeah.
Okay. So every time you look up, you can see that exactly the same
profile.
Exactly the same thing. So we do call the dark side due to never being able to see it. But yeah, the far side's technically more accurate. The moon has been watching the Earth for millions of years, and it has always been a topic of interest in cultures as well throughout the ages. As a majority of our human life, and not us, I mean like in humans, we're not able to explore the moon. So it's something that's just generally going to be of interest, like looking up there going, what the fuck is going on?
It's
like, what
a
is
big
that?
mystery in the sky.
Yeah, you can see it all the time. Yeah.
But you can't go to it. You just got to look at it.
Yep. Super strange. So in the past 100 years, humanity has had the most amazing technological advancements. It's almost unbelievable how fast we've progressed. Once we were able to start leaving our atmosphere, the exploring began. It wasn't until 1959 when the Soviet Luna 3 space probe went up there and actually took the first photos of the far side of the moon. In 1968, so like 10 years later, NASA sent Apollo 8 up into space, which was the first manned flight to leave Earth's atmosphere and reach the moon. Yeah, so the first one, there was no one in that ship. Yep. This is actually the first person that left Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they didn't land on the moon till a year later with Apollo 11. However, this was still a really important journey, of course.
Oh, wait, so it took them a year to step on the moon after they left Earth. Why did it take them so long?
I guess because of the mechanics of like landing a ship, because still at that point, they could take off, orbit around, but then when they come back down to Earth, the Earth, like, they don't land on Earth. They just shoot them out and dump them in the ocean.
Just crash into Earth.
So this has got to land on the moon, take off again. So, I mean,
they wouldn't
pretty good.
Be able to practice that on Earth, would they? Unless it was in some kind of, like, simulation.
Not. Yeah, I don't think so. Hey, I don't know how. I mean, you could... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you could even practice that on Earth. That's interesting. But when they actually went up on Apollo 11, they orbited the moon a total of 10 times. And, they got the first video footage of the far side of the moon.
First people in history to have seen the far side of the moon.
Yeah. So it was all, like, video recorded. And after viewing the footage of both the near and far sides, it is clear that they look very different.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So when we look up to the sky and we see the moon, we all know what it looks like. The markings are always the same with the large, darker areas, in some which are called maria. And we've got a few craters as well. So maria is a term used on the moon which speculates that these large dark spots actually used to be vast magma oceans that have encountered violent eruptions.
Oh my God. I thought you were just going to say regular oceans.
No, yeah. It's like
magma
crazy
oceans.
Stuff, like so old. But yeah, those dark like patches that you can kind of see, that's what those are. So Maria, and then they've got a couple of like craters here and there.
Right.
But when you look at the far side of the moon, there is literally no Maria to be seen at all. It looks very, very different. It's completely covered in crater holes, though, like just thousands of just scattered crater holes everywhere.
It's like moon acne.
Yeah, literally. Like it doesn't have that really technical, like all different looking, like dark bits and like bigger. It's all just like lots of tiny little holes everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And so if you were to see this side of the moon in the sky, you would pretty much have no idea you were looking at the moon. It's just
that different.
Yeah, it looks very different. The other side is also really cold, apparently. So the far side is so much colder.
It's like a whole different world.
It is,
of the moon.
I think because it's got so much. I don't know. There is like really big like articles about it, but it is really complex to try and understand. But it's something about how the other side has got a harder shell, and it's harder for things like when meteors and stuff crash in, it's not as damaged as the near side. And the near side's easier to get damaged because it's closer to Earth.
Okay.
And something to do with all of that. But there is kind of a reason why.
There's scientific explanations.
There's an explanation
smart
for
person explanation. Yeah.
That's it. And that ain't me. So I was like skimming it going, oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that out, but I get it. So NASA were also wanting to get like a rover up there so they didn't have to keep sending people up there because they wanted to learn more about what was going on over there, but didn't want to have to send up someone every fucking time. Because it's so much colder as well, it would be harder to be an astronaut. But the other reason why they don't want to send people up on that side of the moon is because the moon itself actually blocks all contact from anyone on the other side. it's literally a barrier for radio waves.
The moon is just like suddenly probably 25% more nefarious than what I ever thought it was. Because I know it's not doing it on purpose.
No.
But I don't know. It seems kind of like scheming.
The
moon is more scheming than what I thought.
So, it literally, if you're on the other side, it's just silent of everything.
That's very scary. Imagine being an astronaut on the moon and not having that contact.
Oh, yeah. And in 2018, so China launched a relay satellite in orbit, enabling them to make contact and collect data from the other side. So if they were to launch anything over, they were, able to have this relay satellite bounce back and bounce to Earth. So
smart.
Yeah, so that was kind of like the first relay up there. Mm-hmm. And then, a year later after that, they ended up landing Chang'e 4, which is a little rover exploring the landscape. So that was 2018. So this is really not that long ago.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so until then, there's been no contact on the other side.
That's so crazy. It's such a unknown place. Like, it's really not that far away from us, but the dark side of the moon is so, like, mysterious.
It sounds terrifying. I
sounds
don't
very
want
cold.
Cold and scary. And I was going to say dark, but it's not dark. It's not. There's sun there. So now we're going to get a little bit more spooky. So we're going way back still. So 1969. Now, Apollo 10. Now, this is another mission by NASA. And this was a manned spacecraft that was flying around the moon. When they would reach the far side, they knew that they would lose contact until they came out of the other side again. But one time, they heard something that was not right. As they entered into the darkness, the astronauts claimed to hear a very mysterious radio signal that lasted for about an hour. Usually, everything would go completely silent as there was no way to reach any contact from anywhere or anyone on that side. But when the spacecraft returned to Earth, they didn't actually say a word about what happened because they were worried that they would be grounded on mental health issues.
Right.
They didn't say anything. So everyone thought that mission went completely fine. Everything was fine for about 40 years until all the transcripts and audio tapes were declassified. Yeah.
That is that's a huge amount of time.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So in the audio, you can hear the noise starting and then it literally goes for like an hour. And you can hear them discussing the noise, saying it sounds like space music. Honestly, it does, when you hear it, like, because I'll play the audio, it does sound quite annoying. Having to listen to that for an hour would actually lose my mind. This will sound better in headphones as well. So if you're not listening with headphones, I would recommend. Now there seems to be some sort of like buzz going all the time anyway because the spacecraft is quite loud, but there is this higher pitch kind of whistling noise that you can listen to, and that's the noise that they're referring to.
Okay.
That music even sounds outer spacey, doesn't it? You hear that? That whistling sound? Yeah, it sounds like, outer space-time music. Well, that sure is weird music. No. It's a whistling, like an outer space type thing. Yeah, I wouldn't believe there's anyone out there. It's weird. Isn't it weird?
It's weird, isn't it?
That's
so
very eerie.
That noise is like digga 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 digga. That and then also the like that is what is not normal.
I couldn't imagine anything more terrifying than being an astronaut on the dark side of the moon, knowing that you're not supposed to hear anything, and then you hear something like that.
Yes, and it only happened once, and they ran around a few times as well. And they know what their spaceship sounds like. You know, the spaceship at the time was made by modern standards. It was all like, you know, the highest technical advancements that they had. But they knew that the environment was noisy that they were in, but they knew those sounds because they were up there for 8 days, like, you know, they worked in that environment. So, it's really cool, like, listening to them because they would not be saying that if it was something that they've heard, and it went for a fucking hour. Like,
an hour.
Yeah, that's how long it takes on one side to get across. Now this wasn't the only mysterious thing that happened during the 8 days they were up there.
Why? What else happened?
They also had an encounter with an unknown turd. So I've got some other audio I'm going to play.
Oh, no. Okay. The unknown turd strikes again. Okay.
What's happening?
Oh, who did it?
Who did what?
Who did it? Give me a napkin quick. There's a turd floating loose.
I didn't do it. It ain't one of mine.
I don't think it's one of mine. Mine was a little more sticky than that. So anyway.
God almighty.
What do you see?
Nothing. That's enough for me. They told us that. Here's another goddamn turd. What's the matter with you guys? Here, give me a... Well, babe, if it was me, I'm sure you'd know I was on the floor.
Was it just floating around?
Yeah.
Mine was stickier than that.
Mine was too. It hit the
When
bag.
I stuck my
right
finger
in.
in it, mine was nice and soft.
God dang.
I don't know who that is. I can neither claim it nor disclaim it.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I spent hours trying to get that audio. I cannot. There's literally audio for the entire 8 days they were up there.
Oh my god!
And it was so hard to find that section.
Place.
I was like,
did you literally go through the whole thing?
Oh, like I was going so deep I found like the transcripts, like the text transcripts, but they were timed differently as well. It was so hard. But yeah,
oh my god! Thank you for your efforts. That was well worth it.
I went a little bit crazy listening to this. It was so funny to me.
That is the funniest fucking
There's three of them up there. There's three of them, and one of them is like, "Oh my god." What is this? It's a turd. And then he's like, give me a napkin. And then puts it away. And they're all starting to be like, oh, you know, I don't know what that was. It wasn't me. But then, like, I edited it, but it's literally like 10 minutes later, another one. And he goes, no, that's another turd. What is going on here? So it's literally like 10 minutes after. But then they all start... They're so defensive and they're like, oh, mine was way stickier than that. Mine's stickier when I squished it. Because apparently when you're up in space, you got to poo into a bag and then you got to like cut off the end with your fingers so they all know what their poo texture feels like. So they're all just like, no. Like there's only three of you up there. Someone's fucking done it twice. Like, fucking hell.
Fucking one of yous.
This is the funniest shit I've ever heard.
Oh my god, I can't stop crying.
It's so funny. This is like on their second last day as well before they're about to like come home.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, who did that? Get me a napkin. That's just honestly the audio's like stuck in my head. It's so funny. But you can hear the buzzing noise in that one. Like that's just like the normal ship noise as well.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you can kind of compare it to both of them to hear what the music is.
You can,
Holy
shit. I'm so glad that
that's why I said it was a funny episode, because I knew that was coming up. I'm like, no matter how fucked up and scary this is,
I've got tears streaming down my
I know
face.
You've got like bright red. It's so funny.
Oh, you almost just passed out. It's so fucking funny.
So funny to me. Nothing like poo.
Nothing like a poo-poo.
A joke. Well, so anyway, now that that's I hope everyone enjoyed that. I was like, this is the only chance I've got to slip that audio in. There's nothing else I can do.
I'm so glad you did it.
So now that's out of the way, I'm going to move on to way more crazier claims of what's going on,
right.
which is, what if Nazis have actually built a base on the far side of the moon?
We just went from shit to Nazis.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's what this podcast is. Turd to Nazis, like,
Turd to Nazis.
within like a minute. This is actually something that is referred to heaps in older novels. And there's a movie about it, which I really want to watch now. It's called Iron Sky. It is literally about Nazis living on the moon, and there's like dinosaurs and shit. It's made in 2012.
Nazis come up. I don't even know if a Nazi invented this theory, but Nazis come up with the craziest theories.
You could literally just do a podcast about Nazi theories. There's so much crazy shit going on there. There's heaps and heaps of theories of Nazis living in really, really strange, like, inhospitable locations.
Antarctica. Stuff.
Like, it's absolutely crazy. But I was kind of like really looking into this because I was like, why the fuck?
Why is this a thing? That? Yeah.
But I think what I've kind of realized is, I guess because during the time in World War II, they were so technologically advanced from anyone that people literally thought that they could just do whatever they wanted. They could live wherever the fuck they wanted because they were just so feared. They're like, fuck, how are they doing all this crazy shit?
And they had like all these really crazy scientists as well who like had no fucking border, no barriers. They just like did whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were super fucked up. So they could literally do whatever they wanted back then. And when they actually created the V2 rocket as well, so they actually officially launched the space race in World War II because they were the first ones to officially get something up that high.
Right, so that was like the start.
That was the very start. The Nazis actually started the so-called space race. Yeah. Now, the V2 rocket is a missile. Well, they called it a rocket, but it ended up being a missile in World War II. It was used all over fucking Europe and Britain. It was fucked up, known as the terror weapon. So that was kind of like the V2 rocket was like terrifying.
Okay.
But that was the first one that ended up making its way up there. Now, later on, after World War II had ended, and the Nazis surrendered, America, as we know they do, snatch up as many Nazi scientists and fucking rocket engineers as they can.
Yeah.
Kind of benefit themselves. Don't give a fuck about what just don't just forget about what has happened, you know. Now they ended up getting Werner von Braun, so he was the actual creator of the V2 rocket, and he later ended up helping America get the first man to space. So
this is so fucked up.
It's crazy. Like NASA and all of that is literally just
fucking Nazis.
Yeah. So after seeing what the Nazis were capable of in regards to their advancement, and also at the cost to whoever got in the way, they were and still are seen as one of, if not the most evil groups of people there are in the world. Like, they've got a goal, they'll fucking do it, you know? Like, we know from so many, as you're saying, like the scientists that they had, the experiments that they would do.
Exactly.
I don't give a fuck who
whatever
deals
it takes.
with it. Yeah. So, I guess this is kind of why it became such a popular thing to write sci-fi novels about them and like their next goal, because they would just do it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they also had some pretty crazy ideas that they did claim that they were working on as well. It's like, oh, we're working on this fucking laser beam thing that's like gonna blow up.
They're trying to build like a space, like a flying saucer as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So much weird shit and heaps of other shit we don't even know. And I swear, every time I turn on like, you know, the History Channel, SBS or something, there's always some Nazi show about like Nazi hidden treasure, Nazi like mechanical things, like just shit that is just the finding like blueprints buried somewhere of some crazy ass fucking thing. Like,
there's probably some crazy like artifacts out there.
Oh
in Germany.
They stole so much artwork and treasures and stuff that have still never been found.
They stashed them in like tunnels and shit.
It's crazy stuff, yeah.
Nazi gold.
And we've also, just to add in there, we've never seen the body of Adolf Hitler, okay? So just in case no one knew that. So he claimed to have died in Berlin and he was buried in a secret location. Some people say that, the KGB dug him up and then they ended up burning him, which would be nice to think about, but, who knows? There's so many different fucking things there. We don't know what's real, what the truth is about his death, or if he even is dead. There are so many ideas as to what actually happened to him. One of them being that he went up to the moon. There is a report which shows that Russians actually started to close in on one of the top secret Nazi bases after the war. And the Russians reported seeing a huge amount of flames start to erupt at the top secret rocket base that they were approaching, only to see these rockets take off. And there was several of them. And they just went straight up into space. So they weren't actual missile rockets. These were manned rockets, went up into the space. And they claimed that at the time, these were not V2 rockets, which is, so this would have been prior to NASA going up there with a manned mission. Yeah. And they said, no, these rockets were huge. And no one knows. There's no evidence of these ever returning back to Earth.
To Earth? What? What were they?
So everyone's like, was Hitler up there? Did Hitler have these groupies go up there together with all their treasures?
I'm just imagining him sitting on the dark side of the moon, just
chilling,
sitting on a chair or something.
Yeah,
just sitting,
something
probably
sad.
making speeches or something.
Yeah. The moon rocks.
Yeah.
Ugh. But so now we'll move on to something which I think is a little bit more plausible than the whole Nazi situation. As fun as that is, if any of this is plausible anyway, and that is, are there aliens living on the far side of the moon? Now, this all comes from the idea that it is literally the best place for them to spy on us, as the moon itself blocks all radio waves, so they are invisible to us, and we would have no idea that they're there.
That kind of makes sense. If there were to be aliens that want to spy on us close range.
Oh, yeah.
The dark side of the moon
that's the best place.
The place to do it.
Yeah. Now, this is also, I guess, only a theory for people who believe that aliens are physical beings and not interdimensional as well. So I thought I'd just point that out because although I do think this is the most plausible, I think that aliens are interdimensional. So I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, if someone's going to be over there, why not aliens? So Scott C. Waring, now he is a self-proclaimed UFO researcher who claims the wildest theories. One of them is that there is a large alien city that has been built on the dark side. Now, he came to this conclusion after looking at a photo of the Giordano Bruno crater. I keep saying crater instead of crater. I don't know what's going on. Now, this is a 14-mile crater on the other side.
14 miles.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. It's very big.
Big boy.
So when he was analysing this photo of the crater, he claimed to see clear structures that have been destroyed or damaged and could be over 100 million years old, he says. He even said that he could tell some of them had reflective roofs and some that looked like ships. But of course, NASA is just dismissing all of this and no.
You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, nah, that's not what you can see.
But I think if, I don't know, does NASA have a reason to cover up some kind of...
They do. I mean, yeah, you can't really trust NASA too much as well because obviously they are now the ones that hold the information.
Yes.
They're the buffer, I guess, between what's really going on and what they want to release to the public. So,
and I suppose they would be, I don't even know, are they a government
I don't think NASA is. I think it's all private.
Right, but surely they would be influenced.
Oh, actually, is it? I don't know.
I'm not sure either. But even if they're not, I'm sure they're kind of under the thumb.
Yeah.
In one way or another. Funding shit like that, you know.
For sure. Yeah. Now, that's not the only theory he has. So he also thinks that the moon itself isn't actually a moon at all. It's a giant alien space station.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, it looks like a moon. They've covered the surface in debris and rocks to try and trick us, but it's not. And this idea came from Scott, so the same guy. So he claimed he found 2 photos in the NASA Image Atlas in 2013. So they've got a massive database of photos. But the photos that he found has since been deleted.
Oh.
And this is very sus to him. Quote, "The evidence that NASA deleted is not just a UFO, but is also 100% evidence that the moon is not real, but actually an alien space station."
100% evidence. That's pretty convincing.
Evidence that it's not real and it's an alien space station.
What's
just
in that
straight
photo?
up,
like what? I can't even imagine what that photo would look like.
Look, it's I don't know what he's talking about there. This is like the most far out claim I've ever heard. But people like really do
get into it,
believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, this is not the only weird theory they believe in, because it's just absolutely mental to me. But now it doesn't help that there have actually been some astronauts as well that claim to have seen some pretty weird things on the moon as well, like a potential secret lunar base. And even something that looks like a castle.
A castle?
Well. Yeah. An astronaut said that they thought they saw a castle. So many people have scoured the internet and NASA's databases to look at all the images taken of the surface of the moon and really hone in on some potential objects. Now, I'm not saying that they are or aren't alien structures, because I honestly don't know.
Just don't know.
But some of them are a little bit intriguing, as there are photos online. Like it's hard to kind of discount some of them, because some of them have really sharp angles, or they look like a straight up wall. Like it is a little bit strange.
And stuff. The ones that look like
there's some very strange looking things.
Yeah,
like you can kind of see how people would get interested in it.
Yeah.
For me, it's not intriguing enough to like go all in and like be like, you're lying to us, blah blah blah. But I'm just like, interesting, and then I kind of like move on from it. But I think like if there is anything that is living on the far side, I think it's human more than anything. Like I honestly think,
right.
Yeah, like I would say that there's a human base on the other side that we have that is only being used to try and connect to otherworldly contacts. Like a very basic thing. Like I honestly think that. Because,
so not some kind of like weird.
No, I don't think there's anything weird going on. Like I think
thing.
they are trying to reach other
I get
things
you.
in the universe, but because apparently when our satellites on Earth, when we try to pick up noise outside of Earth, our atmosphere has such white noise from the amount of stuff that's going on that it's hard to decipher what is ours and what isn't. But when you're on the far side of the moon, it's dead silent. So if you hear anything, it's not us.
It's not Earth.
Because it's not facing us.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I feel like if we were to set up a base, and I feel like that is the plan anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're already there and they're saying that they're not.
That they're not, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think aliens or Nazis are up there. Like I would just... I don't know. Like I probably think that's like the most plausible, but
yeah, and we've shown that we can go to that side of the moon because we've done it. Like even if it's just kind of flying around or whatever, like we've done it many years ago as well. So I could imagine that like now with more advanced technologies, then
definitely,
it'd be heaps easier.
And considering we've got now it's hard because I know that. Like China sent up the rover, like the relay rover, but I don't know if that's of use for everyone or if it's just for themselves.
China. It's probably just for China.
Yeah, so I assume it's probably just for China. Like NASA would probably not let anyone else use it, you know.
No way, especially if it was like China asking NASA to use it.
Exactly. So yeah, it's everyone's kind of got their own like goal
thing
of what's going on up there.
Yeah,
I think it is still very, very interesting because obviously we're never going to be able to see that from the sky. It's just something we're going to take, like, you know, with a grain of salt of what they're telling us is true.
I think that's why it's so fascinating, is because we literally do not know. We won't be able to see it. If someone is telling us there's nothing on there, we just kind of have to be like, okay, I guess there's nothing over there, unless there is.
Yeah,
unless there is something over there.
Okay, as long as it doesn't affect me personally, go ahead.
That's all right.
Like, I think we're fine. But
this story reminds me of something that I heard of the other day. It's called the wow signal. Have you ever heard of the wow signal?
No.
It's this like big so I'm pretty sure in America, this big dish that's like a radio dish, and it was used, I'm pretty sure, by a university to track like radio signals from outer space. So many things put out radio signals, not just like aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, the funding ran out, and then SETI, is it SETI? Yeah, SETI took over, which is kind of like the people that search for alien life,
right?
In space. They took over this dish, and they received this radio signal. So I'm not very smart with this kind of stuff, but basically, like, this dish picks up radio waves, and it's printed out, like it goes through the dish and it's printed out onto a sheet, and then the sheet is analyzed, and the way that it's printed out is through numbers, and each number is kind of like the increasing level of radio wave that is being received. So like
is it in 0 or 1s, like binary, or is it like,
it goes from like 1 to 9, and then after 9 it goes A, B, C, D, which still is an increase in strength. It's just that they didn't want the messiness of double digits.
Yeah, that would not make sense.
No. So basically this radio dish picked up a massive, massive, massive radio signal from outer space, and they think it's like one of the biggest kind of hints that we've gotten that there is life out there, because there is nothing that we know that makes this type of signal on this type of radio wave. So not like a quasar, you know, like quasars and shit in space. Like they don't make this kind of pattern.
When was this?
I think it was like in the 80s, maybe.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, it's like this really interesting thing, because even the people who kind of analyze all the numbers, they're like, we've never seen anything like this before. We have no idea like what could have made this aside from a possible like UFO or an alien. There's
no reason for us to send a signal that massive.
No, and the thing is, the type of hertz that it is. Yeah. I don't exactly know how like hertz work, but the type of radio wave, the hertz that it is, we are not allowed to emit anything. It's illegal for anyone on Earth to emit this
like sound pollution kind
type of thing. Yeah, I can't exactly remember why.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's illegal to use it. So we know that it didn't come from Earth as well. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, the wow signal. It's really, really interesting.
In the 80s as well. What the shit?
I'm pretty sure it was the 80s.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I want to say like probably like early 90s, 80s or something like that.
Hell yeah, space is fucking weird, man.
Cool story, Steph.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I love
it's the full mixed bag, that one.
Yeah, like so many different things, from Nazis and
to fart noise,
and turds. Yeah. Jesus Christ! Oh, those turds, they got me so good.
Yeah.
I felt really funny,
and I really didn't want to warm it up too much. I was like, I'm just going fucking.
I had no idea that it was coming. I thought it was just going to be like another weird sound.
I really contemplated. I was like, how much should I warm this up before I play the audio. Dylan's like, just fucking go in.
Balls deep. Just jump in.
That's it.
So good. I think that's probably the hardest that I've laughed
I know.
so far on Spooky Man. Well, my story's not funny.
No,
Mine's kind of worrying.
Keep it spooky.
Yeah, it is really creepy. So when I first heard about this story, I'll never forget, I was listening to a podcast and I was in like my dark bedroom at nighttime with all the lights out listening to it, and I got so fucking like nervous when I heard this. So yeah, there's some parts of it that are quite creepy. So I don't think this story is paranormal in any way, but it still is creepy as fuck. And also, we're going to go pretty recent for this one, going back only to 2014. So it really wasn't that long ago. 2014 was the year that married couple, Marie and Derek Broadus, and their 3 young children moved into their home, which was a really big 6-bedroom colonial house that they bought for 1.6 million American dollars, which is a lot of money. So I did the working out of like the equivalents. So 1.6 million from 2014 is the equivalent of almost 2 million American today, which equals about 2.3 million Australian in 2022.
Out of our price range, I think. Fair to say.
Join our Patreon.
Just a bit out of let us buy our 6-bedroom colonial house.
For fucking 2
That's
million.
That's the goal. Fuck the mics.
Dollary dues. Yeah, fuck the microphones. Jesus. So the house that they were moving into, according to the Broadus family, was just absolutely their dream home. And it was in an extremely safe neighborhood of an area called Westfield, New Jersey. The house was only a few blocks away from Marie's childhood home, so they were super excited to just move into this beautiful old house and start renovations because it was quite an older home. It had been built in 1905, so even though it was amazing, it was slightly run down and needed some renos and a bit of work done to it before, they were able to kind of settle in properly. So 3 days after closing the sale on the house, before the family had even had a chance to move in, they were at their new home organising their renovations and just moving some boxes in and whatnot. And Derek decided to check the mailbox. He found a letter that had only one piece of thick, clunky handwriting on it that said, "To the new owner," meaning it was addressed to the Broaduses.
Oh my fucking God.
Do you know what this story is about?
No, I have no idea.
Oh,
but
awesome.
I thought I'd just quickly slip in something that actually was really weird that happened to me.
What?
I have no idea what the story is, but it just reminded me of something when I first moved into a house in Marrickville with my friends.
Oh my God,
and it was literally the first day we moved in. We did not tell anyone we were moving there. And I've got photos of this.
Oh, shit.
Our entire backyard was filled with plastic forks that were sticking up that they placed individually, like a whole packet like of 100 forks all over the yard, and then toilet paper with writing on it in red lipstick.
Oh my
I don't
God.
remember what it said, but it was like draped over our washing line.
Holy shit.
It was so creepy. And that was the first day we moved in. And we
I
were
bet
like,
you just wanted to move the fuck out of there.
oh, it was so, we literally had to pick up the forks. I took photos of them.
Oh, why would someone do that?
I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. And we're like, does someone hate us? Like,
Someone
yeah, it
just
was
sat
very
there sticking
strange.
forks into your lawn.
it was so strange, yeah.
That's very
So I just already, I'm like, oh, damn. Like, you just want to
feeling
fucking
on
move
edge.
in.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just want to relax.
You
and
know
all
the
of a
feeling.
sudden, someone knows you moved in and they don't like you. So
No, and they're making you feel shit already.
Yeah.
Well, we should definitely try and find those photos and post
yeah,
them.
I've got them on my iPhone. I'll probably, I'll upload them after the
Yeah.
story's out. Yeah.
Cool. So, the letter. After opening the letter, Derek is still standing at the letterbox, and the letter inside said, quote, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out.
No.
I see already that you have flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house as it was supposed to be. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Bad move. You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. I asked the Woods to bring me young blood. It looks like they listened. You have children. I have seen them.
Oh.
So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Are there more on the way? Do you need to fill the house with the young blood that I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for your growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard every day. Maybe I am in one. Look at any of the many windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. Welcome, my friends, welcome. Let the party begin. So,
are you fucking kidding me? That
was the that was the first letter that they received, and underneath this writing, the author signed off in a cursive font, "The Watcher."
Oh, God. Okay, my forks aren't so scary anymore.
They're still pretty scary. I mean, maybe your weird person can be called the Forker.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the Watcher.
Fork you bastard.
Forker. So Derek, still standing at his letterbox, he became so frightened that he just ran inside, locked all the doors and windows, and he drew the blinds as well. He had no idea who had written this letter, and it scared the fucking shit out of him, especially with the fact that a large part of this letter involved his children, particularly the author referring to them as young blood.
Yeah.
Which, that's the part that gets me, is like, young blood? That's so fucking creepy.
That is, this guy's a fucking, oh God, I hate it. That is the worst. I can't think of anything worse.
I know. It's horrible.
And he's just outside the mailboxes reading it going, oh, I'm too scared to look up. I don't know who it is. Like,
you don't know if they're watching you now. Like, where are my children? Yeah, it's fucked. So Derek and Marie decided they would contact the previous owners of the house, the people that they had just bought it from, who was a married couple named John and Andrea Woods. So this is the Woods who were mentioned in the letter. They contacted the Woods to see if they had any issues during their time in their house with stalkers, intruders, or even just weird letters by unknown senders. The Woods told Derek and Marie that they did once receive a letter from an unknown sender who called themselves the Watcher, but it really didn't concern them too much, and they just didn't pay much attention to it before just chucking it out, which is strange to me. I mean, I would still just fucking
I'd be dusting for fingerprints and knocking on doors. I'd be so scared.
Yeah, boarding up, the doorways and the windows and shit. So the Woods said that actually they had received this mysterious letter only a few days before they had moved out. And other than this letter, they never felt watched while in the house. Nothing ever happened for them to feel at risk. And in fact, they rarely even locked their door because they felt so safe in the neighborhood. So they really weren't concerned about anything. They definitely didn't have the same experiences that like the Broadest family already were having. So despite this, the Woods still agreed to go with the Broadest family to report this letter to the police. And when the cop who was helping them, an officer named Lieutenant Leonard Lugo, finished reading the letter, he instructed both families not to tell anyone about it, especially any of their neighbours, who at this point were all suspects, considering the nature of the letter was about someone watching the house. So, you know, makes sense that it might be someone close by.
Yeah.
So it was 2 weeks after the Broadest family received their first mysterious letter. They still hadn't moved in, as they were still doing some bigger renos in the house, when they received their second letter from the watcher.
Oh, no.
So this letter was especially unnerving, as it went into much more detail about the family, including mentioning the family name Broadus, as well as the children's birth order and the children's nicknames as well.
Oh.
So it read, quote, "Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time, they will. I am pleased to know your names now, and the names of the young blood you have brought me. You certainly say their names a lot." So there's no there's been no mention of these like nicknames or anything that were said in the letter. I'm guessing just for like security and safety sake. So the letter goes on. 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all of the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone?
Oh, no, not the basement.
The fucking basement.
No.
Classic horror scene, you know, fucking place. I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in each bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the watcher, and have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on, and kindly sold it when I asked them to.
Oh.
I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession, and now you are too, Broadest family.
Fuck.
Classic stalker.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yep. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it has brought you to me. The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. It cries for the past and what it used to be in the time that I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room imagining life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father, but he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day the young blood will be mine again.
Oh.
Have a happy moving in day. You know I will be watching.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate this.
This is insane. This is actually insane.
So naturally, the Broadest family were terrified by the second letter and decided that they were going to just put a hold on their moving into the house, as well as deciding to no longer bring their kids along to the house when they were doing like renovations and stuff, because they just didn't feel safe anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Derek put security cameras all around the house and would even stay up at all hours of the night mapping out the neighborhood, noting where and when certain neighbors had moved into their homes.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like I would start, like, my life would be controlled by this. I'd be so fucking scared.
You'd be so paranoid. It's not even paranoia, because it's like you've got a valid reason as to like feel that way, you know? So yeah, he would just like sit in the pitch black attic of his home with a pair of binoculars trying to see if he could spy someone watching his house.
Yep.
So he's definitely fully controlled by this whole thing, you know. So during all of this, the police were investigating any potential suspects, particularly within the boulevard. And one person that really piqued their interest was a man named Michael Langford, who this was the Broadus family's next door neighbour. So Michael had lived in this home with his mother and other siblings since the 1960s.
Okay.
Which did coincide with what the watcher had previously mentioned in his first letter in regards to how long he'd been watching the house. Because in his letter, he's like, I've been watching it since the 1960s. So Michael, he was a man who had schizophrenia, which obviously alone is not reason at all for suspicion. But he also did have a habit of walking through people's private properties and peering into neighbours' windows.
Oh, lovely.
So he did like to watch.
Yes.
But when people were interviewed from within the community, basically everyone said that they saw Michael as pretty harmless and almost kind of incapable of writing letters to that degree of like punctuation and stuff.
Right, okay.
So the next step for the police was to send off the letters for DNA and forensic testing. And upon doing so, they managed to extract a DNA profile that gave them one single clue. The writer was female.
Oh.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, it was a surprise to me anyway. I was not expecting this person to be
because usually
female.
it's the males.
It's usually the guys. So. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So this ultimately ruled out Michael Langford as a suspect, also due to the fact that Michael was interviewed extensively by the cops. And even though he was a bit sus, they found no reason to arrest him over the letters, because you kind of have to have a good reason to, you know, arrest someone. Now knowing that the watcher is female, multiple women provided DNA samples so the police could further exclude suspects within the case. And these people included Marie Broadus, Andrea Woods, who was the previous owner, as well as Michael Langford's sister, who also lived next door with Mama. So pretty much all the siblings are in like their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they all still live with Mum. But none of these people matched the DNA found on the letter. With no suspects left on the list, Derek Broadus decided to hire a forensic linguist named Robert Lanahan, who was able to carry out a threat assessment from one of the received letters.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, there's so much, like, if you know what you're doing, I guess there's a lot you can go off in one of those letters. It's crazy how in-depth they are.
It is. It's crazy. And, like, just reading through some of the details that he kind of found from this letter, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, like, based on the watcher's vocabulary and the two spaces found after every full stop, he concluded that the writer was likely 50 to 60 years old. And I think, from what I can remember, a lot of people who were trained to type back in the day when it was like on typewriters, because my mum was trained in this kind of thing, you would be trained to put two spaces after a full stop, which is why so many fucking boomers on social media always have like double spaces after their full stops.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, my mum was going to be a typist as well. back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a like...
She had two options. She said, I when she came to Australia, because she's Scottish, she's like, I had two options to have a career. It was a typist or a hairdresser. And she was like, she was very good at typing, but she ended up being a hairdresser.
Oh, she did end up being a hairdresser.
Yeah, but she was like,
cool.
could type really well anyway. But,
right.
Yeah. It's hard typing on a typewriter. Have you done it before?
It's fucking hard. Those keys are tough.
Yeah, and you got to do it like completely vertical.
Yeah. Yeah, we're so privileged having keyboards
soft
these
little
days.
fingers on our keyboards.
Our soft little fingers. So, yeah, like other than this information, there was still no resolution to the case and no suspects were identified. So Derek then decided to hire a private investigator to stake out the neighbourhood to acquire further clues. The investigator claimed that other than acknowledging that the Langfords definitely were strange, there was nothing that would implicate any of them as being the watcher. But despite this, Derek Broadus was absolutely certain that the watcher was Michael Langford or someone from the Langford family.
Okay.
According to the Broadus family, one day when they had contractors in their home doing some painting for them, one of the workers peered out one of the rear windows of the house and saw that the behind neighbours of 657 Boulevard, he saw them just sitting in deck chairs placed near their back fence facing into the Broadus home. And the couple just sat there watching the workers all day doing their painting.
All day?
Yeah. All day. They just sat there watching them paint.
Oh, no.
And upon investigating the couple, it was found that certain members of this neighbour's family, they did once live in 657, the house. But once again, unfortunately, this lead just went nowhere.
Okay.
One night around 11 p.m, police investigators who were staking out the property witnessed a car that was driving by suspiciously, slowing down to a total stop outside the Broadus home.
Jesus.
The driver remained motionless in their car before accelerating away, which seemed very strange to the cops. The car was eventually tracked back to a woman who lived in a home nearby within the community, though when she was interviewed, she claimed that her boyfriend was driving her car on the night of the sighting. This person became an interest to investigators because also his girlfriend did mention in her interview that her boyfriend liked to play very dark and violent video games, one of which he played a character named the Watcher.
Oh my God.
So the boyfriend was contacted for an interview himself, though on the date this was supposed to happen, he was a no-show and the police just weren't able to further contact him again, leading them to another dead end. So there are a fair few people who are strange and of interest in this community linked to this case, but there's really nothing solid in terms of like evidence leading them to who the Watcher is. So
what the fuck? This is so fucking weird.
It's weird. It's just like all these little kind of leads that just go nowhere. Yeah. It's almost like everyone is just everyone's together.
On it. Yeah. Which would be kind of fun in a weird kind of way.
Exactly.
It's like an agreement in the neighborhood. Like, this house, let's just
fuck with him.
Yeah.
No matter who lives there.
Yeah.
Fun game. So now the Broadus family found themselves kind of at a crossroads. They didn't feel comfortable living in this house anymore, and they had just spent so much money buying and renovating the house.
True, yeah.
6 months after purchasing the property, the family decided to try and resell their home for $100,000 more than what they had paid, which probably was due to the fact that they had made extensive renovations to the house, but it really did create speculation that they had just fabricated this whole Watcher thing for media attention, leading them to possibly make money off like a movie.
Not for $100,000. Like, if they can pay that much for a house, like, you'd be looking for more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it definitely did
Yeah, I can imagine
suspicion.
people being like, okay.
100,000, yeah. Like, I don't know the extent of their renovations either. Like, it could have been $100,000 worth of renovations, but yeah, I don't know. So due to the coverage that the house had received since the Broaduses received the letters, they could not find one person who was interested in buying the house.
Wow.
Everybody knew about the watcher. They didn't have one person who came along to look.
Who told everyone about the watch? Like, what? How did this get out?
So, like, a little independent, like, newspaper or, like, news company caught wind of the story, and then they published it, and then everybody just fucking started talking about this story.
Yeah, because the police wanted to keep it a secret, not to give the neighbours. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they had, like, they did, like, news interviews. They fucking spoke to newspapers. Yeah, it kind of just got really out of hand. So in June of 2018, the Broadus family actually filed a lawsuit against the Woods family, the previous owners, claiming if they had known that the Woods had received a letter previously from the person known as the Watcher, they never would have purchased the house in the first place. But ultimately the case was thrown out, and the Woods ended up countersuing the Broaduses for damages due to their first lawsuit.
Wow.
This also inflamed the Broaduses' reputation and the speculation surrounding the letters. So everyone just thinks they're fucking assholes at this point, really. Like, the community doesn't really like them. They think that they're making up these letters, you know. So the Broadus family was now stuck with a house that they definitely didn't want to live in and didn't feel safe even being at, but nobody else wanted to buy it. They eventually decided to lease it out, stating a clause in the rental agreement that if the tenants were to receive a letter from the Watcher, they were able to break their lease and move.
Wow, okay.
Which is pretty lenient, you know. So the
also terrifying. Like, God, I hope that letter doesn't show up.
By the way, you might receive a letter that wants to, you know, fucking like hunt your children and shit.
Yeah, young blood.
Young blood, yeah. So the couple that moved into 657 Boulevard, they weren't nervous about the Watcher at all. They had 2 big dogs, and they were just fairly confident they weren't going to be affected by the Watcher. But they weren't completely free from the Watcher's attention while living in the home, even if indirectly, because within 2 weeks of them moving in, another letter arrived 2 years after the last. This time, the outside of the envelope read in the same clunky handwriting, "Violent winds and bitter cold. To the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria, where have you gone to?"
Oh my God.
Yeah, wench.
Vile wench?
Yeah. That's also what makes me think that this person is kind of in their 50s or 60s.
Oh, yeah. That's not words that anyone below their 50s would use.
No
I
way.
mean, now maybe. I mean, vile wench.
Vile wench
is pretty funny.
It's a 55-year-old pirate.
Yeah.
So the letter reads, quote, "You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighborhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away, that makes you feel sick, day after day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet. Loved ones suddenly die. Planes and cars and bicycles crash. Bones break. You are despised by the house, and the Watcher won. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. Mm-hmm. So to me, it definitely sounds like it might be a couple of people like conspiring to kind of get these people out of the house.
This is just like straight up toxic shit. Like, just get a job, you know,
get a fucking hobby
or something. Like, what are you fucking doing? Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, so other parts of the letter were extremely violent and detailed, so it hasn't been fully released. And
oh wow,
even though this letter was incredibly violent, the tenants of the home were still not put off by this.
What are they on?
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not
fazed by it, you know? I would be out of there in a second. The rent must be good. Like, I bet the rent was so cheap because of these letters and shit.
I mean, yeah. It must have been legit. There's nothing. Yeah. That would not. Nothing could keep me in a house like that.
No,
like
I don't
that's
think
so
so
scary.
either.
Even if I never received a letter and I knew someone beforehand was receiving letters, there's no way I'd be in that house.
No, it's so fucking scary.
Plus, why is there a couple living in a 6-bedroom house? The fuck do you need that much space for?
I don't know. They've got 2 dogs as well. Maybe each of their dogs has a room.
Yeah, true.
So,
a playroom.
Yeah. So, yeah, they weren't put off by this, and they only requested that Maria and Derek install further security cameras around the property, which was agreed to. A couple of years later, the Broaduses were finally able to sell the home only after lowering the price by about $500,000 less than what they had bought it for only 5 years earlier. So $500,000 less, plus all the loss on the renos that they did. So despite moving away from this nightmare, they haven't fully escaped the implications of the Watcher. They have been accused of fabricating the whole thing for, possibly a movie deal or a way to escape the burden of their hefty mortgage from 657 Boulevard. They constantly live with, like, anxiety as well. Like, they're super fucking anxious all the time, even now that they're in their new home. Others are still convinced that this was probably Michael Langford who created the letters. There's also a theory, that the whole thing was concocted by other community members who were just attempting to drive the Broaduses out of their home as they weren't happy about them moving in. But then the Woods also got a letter as well.
Yeah.
And many still think it was just a video game.
Did the Woods just, like, show them the letter that they got, or they just chucked it out?
They chucked it out.
I wonder if they're just making that up.
Maybe.
Oh, no, but why would they do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Michael's mum? How old is she?
So she was elderly.
Okay.
She was quite elderly. Yeah, because he was, like, born in the 60s.
Yeah. She'd be like in her 80s or something.
Yeah, and apparently she was quite sickly as well.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and like many people still think it's just the video game guy who didn't show for his interview. Though there really is no solid evidence as to who the Watcher is. And the new owners who now live in it haven't made any comment on whether they've received a letter from the Watcher either.
Right.
Though it's been reported that surrounding neighbours of the home did receive contact from the Watcher after the Broadus family was driven away. Oh. But either way, it's creepy as fuck, and I kind of feel for the Broadus family if this is legit, because, like, everything kind of was ruined for them. Like, they lost all this money, they lost their, like, dream home, you know, their reputation, everything like that. It's, like, such a famous story now, like, so many people think they fabricated it, but they also just fucking lost so much money from it.
If you're going to fabricate a story, it's like, it seemed like they were pretty well off to afford a house like that. But it's like, what are they doing it for? They paid for the private investigator,
the linguist,
the linguist guy as well. Like, you know, there's a lot of
the Woods to court as well.
They took them to court. Yep, true. So they have lost so much money in this For what? Like, it doesn't make...
For people to think they're liars and, like...
What a sick thing to make up. Like, and what, within a week of moving in, they're on it that fast? They're like, oh, you know what? No, I regret it.
Yeah, fucking let's send ourselves some letters. And they haven't gotten a movie deal out of it. They haven't written a book. They haven't signed any deals at all. So they haven't made any money off it.
It's just empty, those claims.
Empty. It's nothing.
Yeah. I think it's I think it's the girl that says she has a gamer boyfriend that doesn't actually exist.
Oh, it's actually her. That's done. This is what's so funny about this story is that there's so many. Yeah, I mean, you could really. First, I was like, it's the guy next door. Oh, it's his mom. But then now she's quite elderly. Yep. But then the back neighbors are watching them. But then there's the video game.
I mean,
guy.
It could be like that. You know, like Hot Fuzz. Remember that movie Hot Fuzz?
Oh, I've never seen Hot Fuzz.
Oh my god, it's like this tiny little English town out in the middle of nowhere where the whole town is secretly conspiring against. Right. Any outsiders that come in.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's like you don't even know it at all because they're acting so nice and like, oh no, what's going on? This is so... It could be one of those situations as well.
I think that's what it is. I'm not convinced. I mean, Michael Langford seems a bit sus and his family seems a bit sus, but it was female DNA, so I don't think it was like directly Michael Langford.
Is very, very strange.
Very strange.
I really liked that. I really liked that.
A bit of a different one. Not paranormal, but parts of it are very
just
spooky.
Straight up weird shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was great. No, that definitely spooked me out. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, just some of those letters, were like, fucking hell, young blood, what are you talking about,
that is so, like, that's really graphic and detailed to start saying shit like that about a family with kids.
It is.
Oh, filthy. That's crazy.
Filthy.
I don't even know. I honestly have no idea who it is now. My brain just starts going from one person to the next.
Yeah, so many different people it could be. Yeah. Well, this was a great episode. 2 great stories. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our patrons for being our patrons. We love you so much, and your support means everything to us. Yeah, thanks for being you guys. Be sure to check out our socials as well. All of our links are below, and I guess we'll be speaking to you next episode. So take care, and we'll speak to you then. Speak to you then. Bye. Bye. This episode of Spooky Mountain was created and recorded on land of the original custodians, the Gundungurra and Bidjigal people. We pay respects to the past, present, and emerging mob. My name is Jordi, and I'm a proud Gunya woman. Thank you for listening.